Alright, lover, it's a new decade and it's a new announcer, and regional accents are allowed on the radio now, and for some reason, this is the one I chose. It's 1992 and the economy's a bit rubbish. The Royal Mile scaled back their additions to be some flat rides. Don't worry, 1994 is just around the corner.
God, what's that accent, man? Hi, it's 1992, you guys. Welcome to the dawning of a new age of modern coasters. It is the third theme park revolution, if you will. So next week is our big entry to the 1994 year of the coaster. But this week, we are in a tiny, tiny little plot of land for the type of expansion that parks by now are actually doing. You know, the smaller, condensed, but marketable flat ride editions. It is going to be another skip to finished episode this week, but before we can skip to that, I need to skip to this. And after fighting for hours and hours and hours with a pathing tool, we finally have ourselves a teeny tiny little area to work in. And guys, seriously, working in small areas in Planet Coaster is just not it. The game does not like it. It's a game built for big scale. It doesn't like small intimate areas like this. But we're squeezing ourselves into a tight little hole. Is what she said. I've got no idea, by the way, how I'm going to sort any of this stuff out because it's all on a weird level. It's Tomorrow Me's problem. I need to design it out. I know I'm going to have stairs and stuff, but I just don't know how it's come together. And this cattle pen is hiding all sorts of horrors with the terrain that you just can't fix. It just isn't going to happen. But we do have ourselves two rides. We always said that these were the two that are going to be in here. So the top spins are now on the market. The prototype, I think, has only just gone live, and the Golden Eagle has been around for a while. Gardaland's about to get one, so why not allow us to get one? In fact, the Gardaland one's going to be themed to exactly the same thing that we've got here. Oopsie. And then of course down here you would have seen me put in this pathway, so we now have a connection, whereas before, if you remember back to the 1990 tour, I was telling you that the only way that you could really get down here, or not the only way you could get down here was down this way, and you sort of like have to branch off down here and you just have to keep walking, and then it just ends up in a dead end. So really not practical when it comes to guest flow. So we've now opened up this pathway. So this is the area that I am working with. Of course, this is the top spin. I'm taking quite a few cues on this one from Ramesses Revenge because I just loved how the queue overlooked the ride and you ended up going into this little like valley almost. In fact, Ripsaw at Alton Towers kind of did that as well. So that's what I'm going for here. Luckily for us, the game doesn't really like these rides. The Prestige is balked. It doesn't get a massive queue, so this is pretty much all the queue line that you are going to need. But the Golden Eagle, however, remember there is also Rising Raptor, but the Golden Eagle needs a slightly longer queue. I don't like using the 4-meter queues because they just, look at them, they're just, what? But I did actually have these visions of this queue going over the top of the pathway and having like a grand entrance sign and stuff into what I think is going to be called the Snake Pit. Spoiler alert! So yeah, I again wanted to take some cues from Ramesses Revenge queue on this one and just copy that basically. So I'm going to crack on because this ain't much to look at right now. See you in a minute. Oh, you guys, seriously, what am I going to spend the next 8 or so minutes talking about? Because you just saw this come to life in front of your eyes. Like, there is nothing new that I can show you, but I don't care. We've got ourselves 2 new flat rides in a teeny tiny little area, and oh, I love how this has turned out. This was not what I envisioned on paper at all. This is so different, and I'm so glad that I let my imagination run away with me, because these are the 2 new rides. We've got ourselves our top spin at the bottom here, and of course we've now got the tallest ride in the park in the form of the Golden Eagle. And yes, it is taller than the first part of the episode. I needed the prestige in this area, so I actually extended the ride a little bit and changed the whole animations and whatever, the ride sequencing. And then yeah, there's the top spin. You don't often get a relatively high prestige top spin. The game absolutely hates them. This is nearly 700. That'll do. It fits in the park quite nicely, and of course you saw me put in the fountains and stuff, so you saw how I did that with the special effects. And what I've done is, just for a slightly bit of added realism, I've actually left some of the fountains and stuff off when I've done the sequencing, so it's almost like the fountain is broken. But this area has absolutely come together perfectly. Like, this whole idea of the queue line that's along here, I remembered back to the Mine Train episode when I was like, oh, you don't need to always do the pathing along, the fencing along the path. It is what it is. And then I never did it again, right? So so long ago. So I've done it again here, and actually it makes it so much better, because you've got the cattle pen, which reminds me a little bit of Rattlesnake at Chessington, by the way, the way that this queue line works. But anyway, you then come down this way, and you walk through the jungle, and then you open out into the top spin, just like that. And oh yes, this area did just come together. Like, this is Greg, by the way. Say hi to Greg. Hi, Greg. I spammed him around, and I love it. But yeah, just like adding all of the random theming and stuff, the snakes and the archaeologists and the lush foliage and stuff, just made this absolutely pop off. Like I say, this was completely different in my head, and I don't even know what I was thinking, but this is way better when I actually started to do it. I just sort of played with this fencing area first, and the whole thing came together, right? So yes, I managed to sort out the pathing areas as well. I did end up having to do a bit of trickery. You are going to see that guests are going to clip through and they're going to lose their ankles and stuff. I don't care, guys. I don't care anymore. I'm done fighting with the game. Just sometimes you've got to trade off the game with the look. So this is what we've got here. I put the steps in, and then of course I flattened off this area along here, and then I have put the ramp in underneath this bit. So I extended the queue line out because I wanted there to be like a focal feature of the area. I didn't just want this to be one flat wall. I wanted this to like sort of jut out and be a thing. So I put the wheelchair ramp up here. Now it's 1992. We don't have the disability laws that we've got now, so I'm sorry, wheelchair users, I've put steps in here. This is something that the park is going to need to deal with in the future. You don't necessarily need to have it as a ramp. You just have to have access or the ability to access up here. So whether it's a member of staff on hand to help or whether it's a lift or what. And in fact, if one of these or both of these rides aren't intended to be accessible for disabled users, you don't actually have to make the area accessible. So I know you didn't ask for a lecture on it, but that's how it works. Remember, it's 1992, so this is okay for now. We'll need to deal with it as we come along. But the whole thing is now nice and tidy. I've all sorted out all of the flooring and stuff. Yeah, we've got a little bit of weird texture going on in here, but at least I've chosen the texture that's consistent with the theme, right? It doesn't look out of place doing this, but even though I wish we could do all sorts of different stuff. The queue line then for the Golden Eagle comes across here. Again, this is just so much better than I thought it was. I hate using the 4-meter queue because it's just a waste of space. You can get like twice as many people into the same amount of space if you use the 2-meter queues, and that's why I did in the cattle pen and stuff along here. But actually this fits the vibe of the area quite nicely, and because you are raised up, there is a little bit of health and safety that's needed. You can't cram yourself into a small space when you're high up, so you have to have the room to be able to fall over and not die. That's the whole idea. And then when I was doing the theming of the front here, the decorating, it felt really bland. It felt like it was missing something. So I started to do really random stuff. I put the Adobe stuff on, and then I did these tiles, and then I did all of the other stuff. And it started to slowly but surely come to life. And then weirdly, putting the scaffolding floor up here just made it pop to life. And I don't know why, but it did. It worked. And then I put all of the vines and stuff up, and now it absolutely looks the part. Yes. Oh, it's Greg again. And I absolutely dig, by the way, how this just sits off the beaten track. It gives me vibes of the Hyde Park Mayan area. Just the fact that it's off there. And, of course, we've got this juxtaposition going on at the moment where we're spending lots of money on all of this theming in one episode. And then in the next, we just throw down a random coaster with a generic station, and that is absolutely what we would have been doing in the 90s. Blackpool Pleasure Beach would have absolutely been doing that, spend some money and stuff, and then and then don't at the same time. So this building is pretty much the same element just spammed around, right? And that's by design. It is just these pillars with the arches. I had to hide the fact that we don't have 4-meter wide versions of the Adventure Arch. We've only got the 8-meter. I don't know what Frontier was thinking when they were putting all of their building stuff together, you know, because we just don't have consistent pieces. Anyway, it is what it is. I've hidden it with the trim, and then I just put a roof on there to make it enclosed. And there you go. I've taken a little bit of inspiration from Tomb Blaster at Chessington. Again, I think I've actually thrown quite a bit of inspiration in the direction of Chessington. But this is the queue line. It's just a nice little cattle pen. Holds a lovely amount of people. Probably an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of queue, and then you're good to go. I've done a custom fence, of course. I've done a custom fence for the queue. In fact, we've got two custom fences. But I love how this has come about. Yes. And then in the ride area here, I've just put down a load of baggage bins because, of course, you'd throw your baggage and stuff in there. And then I have put a bit of a maintenance area. So you would have like these little platforms and whatever for helping guests in and out of seats. And then you'd have just some electric points and whatever that you may not necessarily hide. And you don't have anywhere to hide around the back here. So that's kind of what I've done. I've just put them on show here. Remember, again, it's the 90s. Let's just remember that. And then coming down to the actual new pathway. So the new pathway is nice and simple. I absolutely hate that I love. Or I love that I hate. No, it's the other way around. I love that I hate this bit of the queue line of the corkscrew coaster because it feels like it's just there. It shouldn't be there, and it is there. And I'm not even sorry. I'm going to keep it there. But yes, this has now opened up, so you've now got a nice little access up to the rapids area. Now what I have done here is I've kept this area clear of trees, and I've kept this area clear of trees so that you can actually see if there's a train coming, as opposed to being blocked off by trees and then walking up to the railroad and being surprised by a train in your face. And then of course the the pathway here is curved to stop people from running down the hill straight into the level crossing. So this is a safety feature of the park. So you put a curve in because it forces people to slow down. And it works absolutely perfectly. And then just a couple of additional fences just to, heighten the health and safety. This would have been a thing in the 90s. This isn't a modern way of thinking. But I love how this now just works. It's so simple but so effective. I did have, by the way, visions of putting some stuff in here this episode, but unfortunately I'm away for work and I'm literally about to head out the door, so I haven't got time to do it. It'll be tomorrow me's problem. I need to kit out the toilets again anyway, because they're still dressed up as if it's 1930. They've not been touched. I think they need a bit of attention by now. Anyway, guys, that's your 8 minutes up, I'm afraid. So this is how it's looking from the top. Thank you so much for getting to the end of the episode. I really do appreciate it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And of course, if you do like it, leave a like and a comment and subscribe, or do what you need to do. You guys always do. So until we speak again, it's 1994 next week. You know what that means. B and Emma in the house. Hooray! Look after yourselves, guys. Have a good week. See you next week. Bye!